It's a cold, wet, rainy Monday morning here in Lagos, Nigeria. And I hope that you're making the best of this weather. We'll choose this totally over the hot season it's been for the past few weeks. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. I'm Olive Emodi.
And I am Osalgi Ogbonwan. Yes, unexpected rain. Of course, for those of us who do not check the weather forecast, no one expected it was going to start raining at 3 a.m. this morning. But it has been very interesting weather here in Lagos, where we're broadcasting from, and we're hoping it's the same thing in different parts of the country as you join us this morning. For the next 2 hours, as always, we have to share with you some of the biggest conversations happening in news and current affairs here in Nigeria. And we hope that you can join us at some point via phone lines or via our social media platforms at News Central TV. For now, it's good morning from me, and we hope that you enjoy the next 2 hours with us.
How's your weekend?
It's been very eventful, I believe so. Many people in Lagos, of course, having, and these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about this morning, the confusion concerning the demolitions that have happened in parts of Lagos, for those who have been directly affected and those who aren't affected, but, have a say. Some of them, of course, completely against it and say it is inhumane of the Lagos State government to, of course, go ahead and demolish properties of people without prior notice. And then there's those, of course, who say that, they were given adequate notice, and of course the states would have to do what is right for the state. And if there are buildings in the right of way, as they say, those buildings will have to come down. So it's conversations, that have expanded in the last couple of days, that we will be bringing up bits and pieces on today also.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping that, my heart goes out to the people who were affected by that. I did see the videos on social media and people who had reacted to how it's affected them, and my heart does go out to them. The one thing that looks like a good news that maybe has occurred over the weekend is that we've seen a reduction. Maybe not very much, but a reduction in fuel scarcity as well. I want to believe it's not been as bad as it was in the past few days. I don't know if that's your experience as well.
Yes, it did improve. I think I saw less, cars in the petrol queues yesterday. I started my Saturday morning in the petrol, station trying to get petrol, but yesterday I think it was less. So that there is, some relief in that regard. I just, saw the video now, the one we just shared, and I'm just wondering, as a citizen, where do you go from there? What steps do you take when you've lost, what you used to call home? Well,
the commissioner did say that the next recourse would be to go to a court of competent jurisdiction, but while the court is giving judgment based on what it thinks is the truth or what it thinks is justice, what happens to these people? Where do they take their families to?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you move from living in a comfortable apartment to then squatting. Some people lost their properties in the process. Very valuable documents that may have gotten missing in the whole chaos. It's just a really sad time because it feels like we say again, the Nigerian citizens have been bombarded from different angles. Whilst you're trying to get a hang of the fuel situation, of the high cost of living, of the electricity challenges, trying to figure out what band you're in. And if these Monday people are in band A, even worse, because they've had to pay electricity at an increased tariff, and all of a sudden now they've become, one night they sleep and then they wake up the next morning homeless.
Yeah. I mean, it's heartbreaking, but like, the commissioner has said, and I did watch an interview where he did, his best to break down the little details, and of course the number of times that they have been given notices, how the Lagos State government also tried to make some adjustments, and accommodate some of their concerns. But in the end, it was necessary that the demolition happened, to give way for other infrastructural developments that the Lagos State government, is trying to do, and of course the canal, which is meant to pass through there. So it's painful, but I guess this happens, and they would just have to count their losses. I think there's also meant to be conversations concerning, what happens with those who approved the building in the first place. Why is the building there in the first place? Who gave approval for a building to be put there in the first place? And would those people also be questioned? So these are, it's painful, and I feel bad for them and those families who are affected, but we'll expand on these conversations this morning and see if there's any other aspects of it that we haven't touched yet.
Welcome back. The Nigerian Police Force has called for the cooperation of the National Union Road Transport Workers, NURTW, towards an effective policing system across Nigeria. The call was made at the inauguration of the union branch chairman and the executives in Asaba, the Delta State capital, South Nigeria. Austin Azu has more details.
Executives and members of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, Delta State Chapter, converged on the cenotaph, Asaba, the state capital, for the inauguration ceremony of the local government chairman and the executives of the union at the grassroots level.
I solemnly swear, affirm that I shall be faithful.
In his remarks, the State Commissioner of Police, represented by the Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of Area Command, Asaba, expressed worries over recent security challenges across the state and sued for robust collaboration with the union towards an effective policy system across the state. In the same vein, the State Sector Command of the Federal Road Safety Corps also advised the union to educate their members on the rules of the road. Similarly, the representative of the State Commissioner for Transport urged the union members to work in line with the more agenda of the state government.
The drivers are most important people in terms of information to police. While you are in your duty post, you'll be hearing a lot of things. While you are at the garage, you'll be seeing a lot of things. Please, for the sake of security and for the sake of the security of the nation, pass the information to the police.
We've been able to impart to all the ESCO, the branch chairmen, the need for them to sensitize their people so that they can obey the rules and regulations of the use of the road.
He also equally told me that I should advise the newly inaugurated local government representatives that they should pass this message down to all their members that are not present here, that we need peace in the state.
Earlier in his welcome address, the state chairman of the union called for the unity of the members towards achieving its set goals.
Continue to be peaceful in their place of work and work according to the rules of the constitutions of the union, and to make sure they stand on their existing peace in Delta State.
If there's one thing so deserving among residents of Delta State, it remains peaceful coexistence and atmosphere for businesses to strive. In Asaba, Delta State for News Central, Austin Azu.
And of course, thanks to Austin Azu for that report. Everyone agrees that there has to be a better working relationship between the police, the NERTW, and of course every other, no matter how small it is, ministry, department, agency, institution of government, on the state level, on the local government level, across the country, because these are some of the things that would assist in policing, assist in community security, and assist in information being shared among security agencies. It's very, very important. But while of course there is that call for proper synergy, it's also important that the police themselves know that the level of trust that the citizens have in you, the level of trust that these bodies have in you, would improve on the amount of cooperation that you would receive. Simply just asking for it, is not going to help. People need to trust you as a police force. People need to be sure, that and believe in the police force itself. We see, every now and then, certain things that happen over, even over the weekend. There's some very, very embarrassing statement put out by the police public relations officer that just completely continues to belittle the trust that Nigerians have, and the working relationship that Nigerians should have with the police. And so, yes, we encourage synergy, but at the same time, it must be stated that the police itself has a lot of fixing that needs to be done to encourage a better working relationship with the police. Well, let's move away from that now. Over the weekend also, there's more stories. Moments after it was announced, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has now distanced itself from a media story claiming that 58 former governors are being investigated for corruption, and that releasing a list of them totaling 2.18 trillion naira has occurred. The EFCC made it clear in a press release on Sunday that it has neither released such a list nor spoken with any media outlet about the former governor's probe. Let's quickly share what the press release says. It says the list of ex-governors under investigation for alleged corruption, not from the EFCC. It says the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, feels obliged to dissociate itself from a phantom report circulating in sections of the media claiming it has released a full list of ex-governors being investigated for alleged corruption. Of course, I'm going to skip one paragraph. This invariably rather means that so-called list is a disingenuous fabrication designed to achieve motives known only to the authors. The public is enjoined to ignore the report as it is false and misleading. The media is advised to also endeavor to cross-check facts pertaining to matters under investigation within or with the Commission to avoid misleading the public with false and inaccurate reports. And that's from Dele Oyewale, the head media and publicity for the EFCC. So yes, that, of course, happened over the weekend. It did already create loads of, conversations before, of course, the disclaimer was put out by the EFCC.
Mr. Oyewale went further to urge the public to disregard the report and advised the media to verify information regarding ongoing investigations directly with the Commission to prevent the spread of false and inaccurate information. A cross-section of Nigerians are taken to social media to hail Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party for not being on the list. You recall that the EFCC has also come under fire for its recent fight against money launderers and naira manipulators, or rather naira abusers. Mr. Ife Salako, who recently has been appointed as the spokesperson for the Labour Party Lagos, joins us this morning. Good morning, welcome, and congratulations on your appointment. Okay, it does seem that we're not able to connect with him yet. We're hoping that before the end of the show this morning, we can connect with him, but congratulations to him. And very interesting update there. The EFCC has, of course, dissociated itself from this report. I saw a report by the Vanguard as well that talked about the number of convictions that EFCC has had in the past 3 years, which is over, I think, 6,981, but over 6,000 convictions, and not one former governor has been involved in any of these convictions. So yet again, I'm sure that a number of Nigerians were excited at the thought or at the announcement of this, thinking that finally a number of these governors will be looked into, because whether we like it or not, Nigerians do not trust their leaders. So a number of them were excited at the fact that there's a lot of digging that is going on, but the EFCC has come out to say that this is not true. But I do think that it's important that we, of course, have these people who go into office, when they come out, knowing that, whilst they're in office, they will give account, and when they come out, they would also give account. I mean, we cannot say that every governor who has been in office from 1999 up until now is clean and doesn't have any dirt or haven't mismanaged the state's resources. So if the FCC does a lot of, does its due diligence, does a lot of investigation, and then we can start to see a lot of convictions, I think that will set a precedent that will prevent or deter people who want to go into office for the sole purpose of enriching their personal pockets or, pilfering the state funds and settling their family, so that this administration will benefit me and my family, like they say in social media. So I think that it's important that the FCC does a lot of looking into current government. I mean, you can't look into the current ones as much now because of the immunity clause, but those who have left office, a number of them have questions to ask, or to answer rather.
I mean, they do, but I think, what this shows, even if they've dismissed the list, but there's definitely a couple of those names that, I've had cases before that, Nigerians are familiar with. That, of course, the FCC had publicized, some of those cases before. They may not have gotten convictions in those cases, but a couple of those names definitely have had cases in the past. But, what this once again shows is the fact that there is definitely some issue with the whole criminal justice, system when it comes to high net worth or high, political, bigwigs in Nigeria. And it's, this has been a problem that has existed for a very, very long time. And that's why it's difficult for, the EFCC to get convictions. And even when they do, just like, a couple of years ago, there were 2 governors that were convicted that were eventually pardoned by the Nigerian Governors Forum also during President Buhari's time in office. The only 2 governors, after a long, long time that had guilty convictions and were sentenced to jail. Eventually were pardoned, after just a short while. So there has always been, that lack of, a proper investigation, prosecution, and conviction for, governors. And it's not necessarily saying that every single governor who has been through office has, case to answer. I'm guessing that there's some of them that don't have cases to answer.
Yeah.
But
but everyone cannot be completely clean.
Yeah, it's difficult, to just say, that nobody, especially with the level of mismanagement that we've seen, in all these states. And another thing, that we'll continue to see, just like in the Yahya Bello case now, which might be the reason that this thing always looks funny, is because they always will create a media trial, about these governors and accuse them of, theft of billions.
With sensational headlines.
Yes, there's always that, that the EFCC does, but somehow, some way, the case just gets missing or lost, or silent a couple of weeks or months, later. And you almost just never see a proper conviction. And that's where, I don't know exactly who to blame. If it is the judiciary itself, if it's the EFCC for failing to always failing rather, to have a proper investigation with facts before going to court, or there's just some spirit that moves around Nigeria that stops these things from, getting all the way to convictions. Nigerians are definitely hungry to see some of these, individuals answer questions as to mismanagement of funds in their states, but it may never happen. And I've repeatedly said it is not just the governors. If there is a state that, 50 billion naira is allegedly missing or has been mismanaged, it's not just the governor that should be answering questions from the EFCC. There's many other channels through which, funds have been mismanaged. And it's not just about mismanaging money now, it's also about, fake contracts. It's about, what's it called now, poverty alleviation schemes that were fraudulent. There's many ways through which it's loans that were taken. Almost every state in Nigeria is running into, debts. Kaduna State, Lagos State, River State, Enugu State, running into, tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars that have been taken over time. But you cannot see a reflection of that amount of money on the states. And so there's definitely something going on somewhere, that the EFCC cannot, just outrightly say, that these people's hands are clean. And again, it's not just the governors. The governors, yes, are the ones, in charge of the state, but there is a line through which those funds trickle out, of the state that, should also be investigated. And if we would do that, if we're not going to get the governors because, well, there's immunity, and right after, governors should be moved to National Assembly and whatnot.
Well, there's no immunity in the National Assembly.
There isn't, but, let's imagine that their political power is still too strong while they're National Assembly, and so we can get them. But there's a lot of people that are in that whole line through which those funds, get. I
think another arm of, that we don't really pay much attention to is the local government. Seeing how much impact that they have. I think that's one that is completely overlooked a number of times. Somebody did share with me feedback regarding the local government chairman. I think it's around the Bedru-Lekki axis. There was a problem with their power supply, and the distribution company had asked them to pay a certain amount running into the millions. And at that point, they couldn't afford it. And it was taking a long time going through the process. And somebody, a citizen, got the local government chairman's number, called him, and explained everything to him. And in a few days, it was sorted, and the light was back on. I think that the local government chairmen have a lot of role to play, but we don't see their impact in a number of cases. It's why even many National Youth Service Corps members, when they want to serve, those who don't want to work, it's almost a joy when they send you to the local government, because it's like, there's no work there. You can be there and doing something else. So I think that that's another arm we need to look into. The role that the local government is doing. The local government has funds. What exactly are they doing? Everything is not just at the feet of the president or at the feet of the governor.
So local government has its own struggles, because just like the state houses of assembly, which I'm going to be talking about later, a lot of them are really just rubber stamp representatives of the governor in, different levels. Local governments, have their own responsibilities, no doubt, but do they have the funds available, to carry the responsibilities?
In a number of cases, yes.
No, they don't. Mostly because, and if you remember in 2017 when there was or 2016, when President Buhari made the NFIU directive and tried to make it law that local government must get every single amount of money that is, sent to them. Yeah. Every local government in Nigeria receives between 150 to 200 million naira every month.
And what does
local government allocation. But the argument is that the funds do not get to the local government. They get to government house. The governor gives what he will to the local government chairman to carry out, maybe payment of salaries and whatnot. But most of the funds stays in government house. With the government.
But is this argument, is this something that we can actually substantiate? And that's not to say it doesn't happen. But that certainly cannot be the case with every local government in Nigeria, where the local government does not get any allocation. They don't get sufficient allocation.
I'm not saying that they are not getting.
I'm saying the governor is the one squandering everything.
I'm not saying that they are not getting. This is a different conversation entirely. I'm not saying that they are not getting. I'm saying that the argument is that they get what the governor allows them to get. They do not get their money directly from the federal government, and that's what I'm saying. That even those who get, because of how much loyalty they have to the people who made them local government chairmen, the process through which these people are even made local government chairmen means that they have to submit to Oga, who put them there in the first place. These are all theories, and of course, it's not like I've been local government chairman before, but the idea is that it's the same thing with the state houses of assembly, and that's why you never see them actually challenging the governor, because there is a pathway through which they got to those positions, and they cannot necessarily challenge the governor. Local government chairman also. I mean, how many times have you heard a local government chairman actually voice out complaints that he's not able to receive funds and do what he should do for his local government?
It's why I say that as the citizens, it then behoves on us to put pressure on them, mount pressure on these people to do the work that they're doing. If you know that when you get there, the citizens are going to put pressure on you, and you'll be held to account, you better not get in there, because you make a mess of yourself. Although we know that these people trade in shame. Shame is not anything that a number of them hold seriously. But if we say that we can't completely blame them because they get funds from the state, the state also gets funds from the federal, they get their federal allocation. They don't, not every state can say, we totally generate our own revenue.
I'm not saying that we can't blame them. I'm just stating the way that I feel it happens. And that's why you can't also expect so much from them. Even if we should have, have a lot of high expectations from them. But it's the way that the system has worked in Nigeria. And that's why they never complain. That's why you never hear them actually complain, because they have an understanding with whoever it is that has gotten them to be local government chairman. That's it. But it's a different conversation entirely, from the EFCC conversation. The EFCC still has a lot of work to do. I still wouldn't, say that this is the fight against corruption. This is only recovering money, if you can. This is only, maybe even bad-mouthing or shaming, certain people. This is not in any way the actual fight against corruption for Nigeria. Do more governors need to answer questions as to how they've mismanaged funds in their state? 100%. One of those states, if you look at the list there, even if they've once again put out a disclaimer, one of those states there, said the governor and his sons, mismanaged more than 500 billion naira, which of course, one of the states in the southeast that currently has, a seemingly better governor now. Is the EFCC saying that in the years that person has no longer been governor, they've not been able to prove one charge against him? Same thing with every other case that they have on that list. Again, this list might be false, like the EFCC has. In fact, the list is false, like they've said. But in all the cases that they have, does that mean that the EFCC has not been able to prove one, that yes, we actually see that a certain amount of money was mismanaged by the government in the 8 years that they were there? Not one time? It's hard to believe. Okay. It's hard to believe. So there's definitely a problem with the whole process through which these investigations are carried out.
Nigerians will probably say no smoke without fire and urge the EFCC to do a little more digging into these names, even though it's this.
The Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has dismissed any notion of political crisis in Rivers State. adding that pressure mounted by the political crisis has been weathered sufficiently, giving way for his administration to provide focused leadership and governance to the people of the state.
Governor Fubara made the assertion when he hosted members of the House of Representatives Committee on Public Petitions, led by its chairman, Honorable Mike Etaba, on a courtesy visit at Government House in Port Harcourt on Saturday night. The governor explained how the pressure from the unwarranted political crisis served as an enabler to strengthen his commitment to service that is now impacting lives positively. Joining us this morning is Jerry Omasho Gunwa, who is going to be looking at the story and getting into the conversation with us, but he'll be joining us much later on in the show. But I wish him all the best. Congratulations. I don't know what he means by there's no political crisis in Rivers. There has been a political crisis. Maybe he's trying to say that it's time for him to face governance, which he did say. He quoted Al Pacino in I've forgotten, Devil's Advocate. You're talking about how this pressure is inspiring him to do more as opposed to run away, talking about how it's season for governance and how they are prioritizing governance now. There has been political crisis in Rivers, and it will be great. It will be for the benefit of the people of Rivers State that the crisis actually comes to an end. I don't know what that would look like, what the picture of the crisis coming to an end in Rivers State looks like, whether it would look like no further bickering between him and Nyesom Wike here and there, no further resignings. I mean, we talked about the last two people who resigned from his cabinet last week. So maybe no further resignings and all the people coming together to say, you know what, enough of all the politics and politicking. Rivers State is our state and we have to make it work, regardless of who we are making our alliance with. At the end of the day, what's most important is the people of Rivers State.
I mean, he can choose to, Sim Fubara can choose to, bring out his white flag. He can decide that he's done and wants to focus on governance in the state. Doesn't mean that the people who have been, against him are going to do the same thing. Doesn't mean that the forces from the FCT will do the same thing. Doesn't mean that those on the State House of Assembly level or its commissioners will do the same thing. And that's the painful part about politics. When interests are being fractured or are being tampered with, the fight will continue till everybody's interest. At least there's a middle ground somehow, somewhere. And it doesn't sound like there has been any middle ground. If he's choosing, to focus on development in Rivers State, then of course great for the state. But what does that even mean? What is his interpretation of development for Rivers State and governance for Rivers State? What is the plans that he has for the state? In what levels, what ways can we rate development in Rivers State after 4 years? He still has a couple of years to go. And what standards are we going to judge him by? Because yes, I mean, this is a different part of the conversation entirely, but it's important to mention. Nyesom Wike also did, his own time there as governor. He would also beat his chest and say, this is what I did for Rivers State.
But all the
There's people, exactly. People would also argue that, human development index didn't improve in Rivers State. All you did was build a few bridges and a few roads here and there. Which of course you'd be given credit for, but it's not. You can't say that this is governance and this is what you brought for Rivers State. And so he also has to prove to the people of Rivers State that he will improve on their welfare and the quality of lives that they will experience under his watch, and of course under his stewardship as governor. But while he's trying to do that, will his political detractors, as they're called, would they allow him breathe and allow him govern? Are they also interested in what is best for Rivers State? Are the commissioners who are resigning now because he tried to do a cabinet reshuffle, are they also interested in what is best for the people of Rivers State? Or are they interested in their own personal interest?
Are they all going to shape their swords? And what happens to the memorandum of peace that was signed in Abuja, or allegedly signed in Abuja, spearheaded by the president of the country? What happens to that? Is Nyesom Wike now going to fully face the FCT and forget about battling for political structures in Rivers State? I think these are the questions that we need answers to. I don't know if he's saying that as a motivational speaker, when you're aspiring and perspiring for the best. I don't know if he's saying this as, I'm not going to play that dirty game with them. But it takes two. There has to be an agreement. Or can two work together unless they be agreed? Like you've mentioned, if he says he's done, but they're not done, then he still has problem on his hands.
He's still the executive governor of the state, so, a lot of the powers, are still, up to him. But for a smooth running of the state, he does need these people to also fall in line. and to also carry out his policies and the things that he believes in. The whole chaos has been too embarrassing since it started. Right from day one, where there was videos of him being I think it was water cannons or so that were fired in his way while he was walking on the streets, to of course the demolition of the River State House of Assembly complex, to the comments being made by the former governor of the state, to the peace agreement being signed in the FCT that nobody agrees with. There's just been too many layers to this one. To, of course, the members of the House of Assembly that, ported to a different political party. And till now, people still argue that they should have lost their seats, for that move. So there's just been too many things that have happened in the last couple of months since he became governor that I don't know if we would just simply, people would just simply move on from it because he has decided to sheath his sword and focus on governance. You can't just move on like that. And in a sane society, a lot of these things should be recalled and should be brought back for proper conversation. Why was the House of Assembly demolished? And questions should be asked with regards to that. The people who ported from one political party to the other, do they still have their seats? Is some political agreement in the FCT, is that recognizing Nigeria's constitution as a way to no longer question the infractions that happened within the state that really should, to some extent, be enough, for impeachment. The high-handedness, that might have shown that should be enough for impeachment, here and there. So, but of course, this is Nigeria. So, like Dan Bello would say.
When you mentioned the demolition of the assembly complex, I just remembered because I was thinking about it when you mentioned it. I was just wondering, we never might get an explanation about that. An honest explanation about what really happened with the assembly complex, because what they're talking about was the structure, and they were checking the, I've forgotten the exact words that were used, but checking how healthy the structure is and fit for purpose, which is why they decided to demolish it. Demolishing it with all the equipment inside, a structure that was built with taxpayers' money. Are we ever going to get an honest explanation about what happened with that assembly structure? And is anyone ever going to take responsibility? Are there going to ever be consequences for what happened there?
Not very likely. But these are the current developments, from the state, and of course it's important that we would continue to X-ray and see where these things lead. But we currently, have joining us the Special Assistant to Governor Fubara on Electronic Media, Jerry Omasogunwa. Good morning. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, viewers at home and wherever you're watching us from.
Thanks for joining us. So, share with us, when the governor says that, he is moving on and is focused now on governance, for Rivers State, and, what comes, at least for the betterment of the lives of the people of Rivers State. What does he mean by that? While we're still dealing with commissioners that, decided to resign, while we still have a House of Assembly that may not necessarily be all for the governor, what does he mean?
Before I'll answer your question on no troubles in Rivers State, let me start from the House of Assembly that you people talked about. The former administration under Yeso Wike, when he was commissioning the speaker's residence some time ago at Amadi Flat, he said that the House of Assembly complex has integrity, that over time is going to demolish that house and build a befitting house. When that fire incident for the MD, and integrity test was carried out on that structure, at the end of the day, the test shows that that place is not inhabitable to do government business. And hence, it has to go down so that a new befitting structure for Rivers State has to be built at the end of the day. If it rains, pray that you're not there. The rain didn't meet you there because it's leaking like baskets. And who does that at the end of the day, you go there for legislative duties and it rained, everything is just washed away. It's not a good development at all. Else, the governor in his wisdom has to bring that complex down. Why that is done, the 2024 budget has the provision for the rebuilding of that assembly. And back to your question.
Sorry, before you move away from, before you go back to his question, I just want to interject there, since we're talking about the Assembly complex. Eyewitnesses who were there at the point of the demolition of the House of Assembly complex at the time that it was demolished stated that it was demolished with a number of its properties, a number of the properties inside and documents and all of that inside, acting in a manner akin to it being demolished hastily. Can you explain that?
The place was burnt now. Did your correspondent visit the Halloween chamber after the fire incident? There was nothing remaining, so integrity test carried as at the period carrying out the integrity test. Some of the property that belonged to people were removed, and at the end of the day, the demolition took place. There was some notice, and the demolition took place. So there was no property belonging to individual inside.
Okay, so you say there was no property inside while the demolition was going on, or that they got their properties after?
Yes, I said so. I said so.
All right, please go ahead. Now you can go back to my
for the peace in the River State, no more troubles. You recall, if you follow up as event unfold, that our IGR in River State here was 13 billion. And it moved to 27 billion. In case you're not aware, I'm informing you right now. Can you achieve that feat of over 15 billion where there is no peace? As I'm talking to you now, I'm going to my office, and I tell you that nobody will ask me, where are you going or where are you coming from? You can move at any time in River State here. At night business are booming, and everywhere is booming. Projects are going on, the Port Harcourt Ring Road is going on, the 20,000 housing units is going on. But they don't stop work or don't stop work. So I don't know where they get the assertion that there's no peace in River State. There's absolute peace in River State. People are moving on to do their own thing as the Constitution allows them.
This peace that you speak about in River State, are you talking about the current reality, or that there has been peace in River State?
No, I'm talking about presently. From the period we grow from to 27 billion and onward, there is peace right now in River State.
Just last week, the governor reshuffled his cabinet, and we did see that there were some resignations that had happened. At the time when these resignations happened, would you say that there was peace in the state? Also, this peace that you speak about, would you say that those who are firmly in support of Governor Nyesom Wike's camp are in line with this, including Governor Nyesom Wike himself?
As at the time there was reshuffling in the cabinet, I will tell you that it's within the right of the governor to reshuffle his cabinet, knowing too well that he will be the one to take the blame if there is any mistake in cabinet. So it's within his right. So if they decide that they are not working because they reshuffle the cabinet and they took them to areas that they don't like, it's within their own right to resign. And I ask you a question, even though you are the one that's supposed to ask a question here. When they sent their names to the assembly, did they say, oh, Adango, you're going to be justice minister, so clear him as justice commissioner. Kamalu, you're going to be minister of finance, so send the name, put it, commissioner of finance designate, before it gets to the assembly, and all the questions they will ask him will be based on finance. They didn't do that. They were asked general questions, so it means that they can play in any side of the team, any wing that they are taking to. I tell you a typical example. This commissioner team is like a football team. I know that our used to play attacking midfield. I think about 8 or 10. I can't remember. I'm a football fan. But at the time when he entered Chelsea, when he was signed in Chelsea, he was taken to defensive midfield and he played very well. That's the same thing that the governor did. And they said they cannot play in that way. They resigned. It's within their right. It doesn't make if there is peace or no peace as at that time.
The political crisis in the state, would you describe it as currently stable? Absolutely nothing to worry about. Everybody is working for the good of the people of River State. Is that how you would describe it? I cannot say
everybody is working for the peace and good of River State. The assembly, for instance, I don't know what they are working on right now, but on the side of the governor is absolute peace. See, let me tell you something. If you throw stone at every dog that bark at you, you may not get to your destination. The governor has decided not to be distracted. He said it from beginning until today, he still maintained it, that there is no distraction that will make him not to carry out to provide for the welfare and well-being of the people. So if the other people are still cooking up something, for him, this is absolute peace, and I want to work for the benefit of Rivers people. I tell you something, at the end of the day, nobody will vote him back if he wants to go for second tenure for the amount of war he fought. They will vote him for how many lives he's been able to touch, just as he's doing right now. And I can tell you categorically that Rivers State has been rated as one of the best in the South when it comes to primary health care. Rivers State Governor, about 100 organizations came together and said he is the governor of the year when they compare all the governors that were sworn in last year, May 29. So that is his focus, and that is what he's focusing on. I tell you, for instance, before the crisis, there are 4 bills that the executive sent to the assembly. The bill to empower Rivers State to provide for power for each citizenry, since the power has been deregularized or deregulated at the end of the day. So the bill is before them. They've not touched that. All they are doing is to build to protect themselves and how to cause problems. But the governor have decided that, look, I am focused and I want to deliver a deal of democracy to the people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just try to figure out how that is going to be achieved without a State House of Assembly, that has that is working in tandem with the governor, and working, with the same goals, with the governor. How does he plan to achieve some of all these, these policies? That's one. And then another thing is, when you say that, Rivers State has been rated highest, with regards to primary health care, it's also been able to generate, 27 billion in IGR. How did this, get achieved in just a few months since, he became governor?
Well, prudent, blocking loopholes, and all those put together. So the governor, as you know, is an accountant by profession, and he was also accountant general of the state, and is very prudent when it comes to spending Rivers people's money. So with that blocking loopholes and all those, he was able to get that.
So while he was accountant general, he was aware that there were loopholes through which Rivers State money was being mismanaged.
Who called the shot as at that time? Who does the ball fall back to at the end of the day?
Yeah, that was the governor. But what I'm saying is, while he was accountant general, are you saying that he was aware that Rivers State had its, had many loopholes through which his money was being diverted or being mismanaged?
It's not left for the governor as at that time. I think it's the one that should be the one to answer that question, not him right now. He has done the right thing, and I think we should be praising him for doing the right thing.
Okay.
All right. No, go ahead. So he's blocked loopholes that he, very likely was aware of while he was, before he became governor.
No, I don't think he was aware of that. If the present governor is the former governor was not aware of that, then I think he too. Maybe there were foul play that was going on, and I decided not to be part of it.
No, but you said that he blocked loopholes.
What? I'm coming.
I will let you go on. I just want to be clear.
I'm coming. What does the former governor mean when he said the structures are being demolished by the present governor?
I think you're in the best position to tell us what he means.
So I mean, so these are we're going in the same direction. I just want you to be clear on what you're saying. The structures that you're talking about, are you then saying that the structures you're talking about are the structures that allowed for these loopholes through which Rivers State money was, was leaking out? Are those, what the structures?
The former governor, like media chat, maybe the next one you should apply to be part of it and throw that question to him.
All right, tell us about
what is structure.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm asking what is structure. Maybe it should be part of it, or send a message to his next media chat so that we can know what the structure really stands for, if not for this.
Okay, so what it seems that you're saying is that the former governor, Nyesom Wike, had, his political structures in the state through which River State money, running into billions of naira.
I didn't come here. I'm just asking what does it mean by structure?
I mean, I would assume that you're in a better position to know, seeing as you're in River State, you're in the government.
No, I said I am not in the position to know that the next media shot that the former governor will be attempting, maybe you should be part of it so that you can ask him, so that he's clear on that.
My final question will be if you can tell us what's the current relationship between the past governor and the present governor like?
I don't think the present governor needs any relationship with the former governor to develop the state. In Akwa Ibom State, even in the other day we were in Bayelsa State, we saw Dixon. We paid a private visit to the governor of Bayelsa State, Governor Diri. Dixon was there, but you had the former governor in his last media chat that all hope of reconciliation between him and government is gone right now. And what can we do? Like the Bible will say, what can the righteous do when things are not okay?
So I take it that they don't have a good relationship, but this will still not hamper, the work that the current administration has to do. Is that it?
People say something, that the frowning of the ego does not stop the native doctor from using it for scripts. So the government will go ahead with his development strive, because that's what River people the relationship can come up later.
Yeah, my last question to you is, you mentioned structure, and former Governor Nyesom Wike's structure. Was Sim Fubara part of the structure?
I think I still have the answer. You wait for the next media share. It's very good at media share. And asking.
Yeah, but I'm asking from what you said, that he mentioned structure.
We are not aware if he's part of the structure.
All right.
If he's part of the structure, why would there be quarrel, fighting, and infighting, and all those, trying to instigate people to impeach the same person that you think is part of the structure?
All right, Mr. Omashogunwa Jerry, you've spoken so much about this peace, stating that there really is peace in River State. I'm hoping that when we speak with the people of River State, they would reflect the same thought pattern.
There is no problem. Like I said, I'll be leaving my house any moment from now to the office, and I tell you, nobody will harass me. Nobody will ask, who goes you or who doesn't goes you, like before. But I tell you, there is peace, and investors are coming one after the other and see how to join us to develop River State.
I mean, it's for the benefit of the people of River State that everything works out well. Thank you so much for joining us, Jerry Omashogunwa, Special Assistant. I was saying that it is in the interest of the people of River State and Nigeria that there is peace. So yes, we are definitely up for peace. We're in support of peace because we want governance to take the front seat. So thank you very much, Mr. Omashogunwa, for joining us.
Welcome back, and now it's time to take a look at the newspapers this morning, share with you what the major stories are making headlines across Nigeria. We're going to be joined, joined by Dr. Ojon, who's a public affairs analyst, to share his thoughts on these stories. Good morning, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, it's good to be here.
All right. We're kicking off this morning on the Punch newspapers to see what we can share with you as quickly as possible. Telcos fear shutdown as construction threatens cables. It also says here, undersea fiber cables linking Europe to Nigeria pass through construction corridor, Alton and Alcon are saying. And that, of course, is on the Lagos-Calabar Highway. Abductions, detentions, echoes of Abacha-era media clampdown resound under Tinubu. Tinubu to get minister's Q1 assessment report. Okay. And also 9 banks earmark 383 billion naira for legal dispute claims. Quickly also, NDLEA seizes 4,752 kilograms cannabis concealed in Abuja gas tanker. 80% of Lekki buildings have no approval, says the Lagos State government. Quickly, let's get your thoughts on the Tinubu to get a minister's Q1 assessment report, and then also maybe on the telcos fearing shutdown with regards to the construction of the Lagos Calabar
So
Highway.
if one is privileged to have been on any board or you're sitting at a management position, when you give appointment to people, you accompany it with a KPI, and anybody who falls short of this is either booted out or given some severe kind of punishment. I think that's exactly what the government has tried to do. But most importantly, it's very, very important for you to be able to walk your talk. Most often in Nigeria, what gets your appointment is not competence, it's purely politics. But we have seen it in this government that a few among the ministers that are core professionals have actually displayed their capacity to turn things around. For instance, I'm always proud to say the man from my state, Olubumi Tunji Ojo, who is the minister in charge of Interior, has done extremely well. And we can also pinpoint a few other ministers who have been able to help the government achieve whatever it is that they call their mandate. And if at the end of this first quarter assessment, anyone falls short, there are other people. If you know what APC people are doing now, some of them have gone to Orioke to pray to get appointments. So I know 1,000 other people are actually queuing to
Remember when they were blocking Ikoyi, when it was alleged that the president was in town, and then there was a lot of traffic at Bodilon.
Yeah. So it's so funny that a friend that is very close to me went to Abuja and he was just paying for hotel just to get appointment. And after about a few months, he just knew that even if at the end of the day he gets the appointment, he will spend perhaps his 6-month salary on hotel payment. So he had to come back to Lagos. It's that serious. But having said that, whatever you give to anybody without a caution can be mismanaged or misused. So I want to appreciate the government for having the initiative to set a KPI and to put somebody in charge of the assessment, that you are not minister and you are all in all. There's somebody who's watching you, will give you assessment at the end of the day. And I believe that this will actually push them to working harder. I'm talking about the bigger story on the front page of the Point, that's Teco relocating. And I said that any project that government is interested in does not get to drag for too long. The major problem we have in Nigeria with our project and policy is the fact that there's no sense of urgency. Ibadan, Lagos Expressway took us over a decade to fix. But now we can see that within a short period of time, this Lagos Calabar Expressway, everything is being done to ensure that, work starts, to ensure that it proceeds smoothly. So I say that anything that government has interest in is always very fast. It's always, they do everything within their capacity to ensure that they fix it, and this is what we are saying. And I want to pray and plead with people in authority, this same energy that they have used in trying to construct this wonderful project, they call it ambitious one, from Lagos, they should also extend the same energy to fixing electricity. It is sad. You know, I'm always mobile. I was on this corridor of Lagos, Benin, Delta Expressway. I bought fuel in Lagos for about 700. But before I got to Ore, I bought for 1,180 naira. Only for me to get to Asaba, and I discovered there's no queue, and they were selling at 600 naira. Nigerians cannot continue to continue like this under a situation that can be fixed with the same urgency that we are using to fix the Lagos Calabar Expressway. The president must remember that he's setting an example. And if this example does not extend to other important areas of our life, at the end of the day, it will have done nothing. Because if you are telling me that the Lagos Calabar Expressway will be told at the end of the day, then in my head, as a person who has studied government for close to 2 decades, in my head I'm thinking that you are being fast on this thing because you want to tow it. So use the same energy. This energy you are using, extend it to other important areas of life. I cannot survive having 4 hours of electricity per day. It is killing me. I cannot survive going to the filling station to queue at every point in time. In a country where we have abundance of mineral resources. So my plea this morning is it's a wonderful project that the government has embarked on. I am elated that they are doing everything possible to get it done. But again, they must extend this kind of energy, this kind of sense of urgency that they are using on this project to every other aspect of human life. You saw some people under the bridge paying as high as 250,000 naira per year to take a plot under the bridge, a portion under the bridge. We must make the life of Nigerians count. We must make them their life matter. And it's this same kind of urgency that is required in housing. I've said it here repeatedly, that when government says, as somebody who has interest in the housing sector, I study over the time. I'm trying to remember the name of this country. What they did is that they make sure that people don't live far from where they work. And that has a triple effect on their economy, because they are not going to hold people in traffic. And once you don't waste time in traffic, you get everything done as quickly as possible. The level of your productivity increases.
I agree.
But at every point in time, you talk about housing, and before you get there, politicians have mopped up everything. This sense of urgency, I go to it, must be extended to every part of our human life in Nigeria.
All right. Very, very properly said. And you've really spoken passionately about housing for the longest time. I wonder if you had to get a political appointment, you probably choose somewhere within the housing sector.
Let's go to another newspaper.
Yes,
I think we should go to I think we should go to First News newspapers this morning. Or we can rush through anyway. First News.
All right, on the front page of First News, we have government and security officials aiding banditry. Katsina governor cries out.
Yes.
He alleges youth being recruited for as low as 500 naira. This is ridiculous. Yes. As Kebbi governor vows to sign death warrant of convicted informants. Gunmen killed 24 in Katsina, 3 farmers in Benue. Daniel Ojukwu detained over report of an abuse of contract procurement by Olokwe. Okay. Coastal highway done purely because of Tinubu Chagri business relationship article alleges. I mean, this is a conversation. This is not the first time we're hearing about this. Chagri business relationship and the high tech and the drama, saying that they wanted it to be a thing of bidding. Even though the minister had come out to explain, I don't know if you were satisfied with the minister's explanation.
The truth is that in Nigeria, the president is the president. And I have studied governance for a period of time, and I discovered that no other president has the kind of power that the Nigerian president has. And it's because of the fact that everyone, either you're supposed to, do what is right or be loyal, everyone just go there and leak something just to get something done. If at the end, have you bothered to check how much was put on this project in our national budget? And I keep telling people, your budget is your destiny direction of any nation. Anything that is absent from the budget is absent from execution from that period of time. So the question people are not asking is that what is the input of the National Assembly? They have zero input, sir. On this highway, National Assembly has zero input. They don't have input. The president just and the executive just decided to say, oh, it's like, what do they call this, messing after death. After, this is what we are going to do.
Because how do you approve it when you don't even know what the total cost
we have started. And after we have started, now let's go and take the legal backing.
Yeah.
You don't take legal backing after you have started a project. And that's why a lot of people are coming to read minutes to it. What I just love about the project is that, okay, for the first time we're having an idea that is looking as if somebody is going to stay through with it and execute it within his 4 years. Oh, sorry, is it 4 years or 8 years tenure? Within his tenure. Yeah. I'm so excited about that. But beyond that, there are other critical aspects. See, ma'am, in NDDC, in 2011, NDDC got 280 billion naira as its budget. 280 billion naira in 2011 is, I don't know, it's almost like $1 trillion naira today. Yeah. In 2012, they got 350 billion naira. In 2013, they got 370 billion naira. Put all of this money together, it can fix any road. But the East-West Road is there. The East-West Road was started in 2006. Up to today, you don't want to dare to drive on that road. If we have sensitive roads like this, then people will begin to raise eyebrow while we are committing about 15 trillion naira in a partnership that will fetch us a road from Lagos to Calabar. These are some of the questions. You see, there are a lot of questions that government cannot answer. And that is why, before you embark on a road, apart from the BEMA, the Bill of Engineering Measurement, BEME, you also have the environmental impact assessment. And the question that has been asked is that, did you do all of this assessment? Did you have approval for them?
He said it's in order.
This is not, but they've also not been able to produce that document.
Let them just continue to build
Okay,
it.
I
like
want
the
you to
energy.
quickly touch, I mean, there are other stories here, but I can't go through them. Okay, let me just run through them. Osun government got 10 billion naira foreign loans in 2023 report. I've chosen to be focused on that pressure, no crisis in Rivers, says Fubara, but I want you to touch on the big story. Government and security officials aiding banditry. Katsina governor cries out, saying he alleges that youth are being recruited for as low as 500 naira.
Now, the recruitment price or fee is the worth of an average life in Nigeria.
500 naira.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey.
That's the recruitment fee. Because the man that you are being recruited may not come back home alive. The man that you are recruiting may actually kill other people. So that 500 naira, as it were, sad as it may sound, is the worth of an average life. And when you say, when government official is absent from any crime, I say to you, ma'am and sir, that that crime cannot last more than a month. But at every point in time, once you see the hand of government official, once they benefit from it, I keep saying it, with the record, I come from a military populated family. And I have followed history to see the exploit that our military men make whenever they go out of Nigeria. I see the exploit that even policemen make when they go out of Nigeria. Why is it that we find it very difficult to conquer banditry, to conquer terror in Nigeria? It's simply because of the fact that it's a sector that has the highest of the budget. And as a result of that, it gives an opportunity for everyone involved in that circle to make the highest of money. That's why we continue to talk about banditry. And I'm not trying to create an impression that fight against terror is that of deadline. No, it's that of consistency. But that consistency will not bring out the required result if we do not tame government officials who have dipped their hands into the purse of the government to take benefit directly from the purse in the name of fighting terror. Yeah. These are some of the issues we have. When government officials are absent from any crime, I say it to you again, in Nigeria today, the crime will not last more than a month.
Yeah, that's why, once in a while they call them never-ending wars, because there's a lot of people benefiting from the crisis. Dr. Ojon, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for your time, and of course, for your analysis.
Yeah. I wanted to say happy Monday.
Well,
this happy weekend, it will soon happen.
All right, stay with us. We, of course, have more conversations coming your way on Breakfast Central this morning, right after this break.
Spokesperson to President Bola Tinubu, Bayo Onanuga, has said that former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, is a bitter person. He made the expression on X while on Monday, and the statement might have stemmed from Obi's recent visit to Canada, where he criticized the failure of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, during the last presidential election. We're looking at the attack and the criticism that has been leveled against the presidential flag bearer of the People's Democratic Party, and we're joined this morning, of the Labour Party, I beg your pardon. And we're joined this morning by the spokesperson of the Labour Party, Lagos, Ife Salako. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. First of all, congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
You look like a spokesperson. Welcome.
We're trying.
Okay. All right, so let's first of all get into the statement and the allegations of bitterness against the Labour Party's presidential flag bearer. That's, of course, His Excellency Peter Obi. Let's talk about, what would you say has, is there any merit or weight to some of the criticisms that has been leveled against him in most recent times?
I mean, it's if the criticisms are not coming, then he's not doing the right thing. When last in this country have you seen a candidate in a presidential election and the election is over and everybody is talking about him? Yeah. It's because there is somebody now who knows that politics don't end when election ends. It's someone who knows that there has to be roles that you have to play as a citizen, not just as a candidate, not just because you want to contest for a particular post. As a citizen, as a Nigerian, he knows, Peter Obi knows very well that he has a role to play as a Nigerian, and he's playing the role as a citizen who wants a better nation. And of course, he was asked recently if he was going to contest again in 20, and he said, look, I'm not bothered about that now. I want to focus on the things that will move the nation forward first. So, and in doing this, the opposition are already threatened. This statement from Mr. Bayo Onanuga is a threatened statement. It feels threatened.
But the standpoint he's coming from is that he says that His Excellency Peter Obi is demarketing Nigeria. So he goes abroad. In fact, he referred to him as chief mourner. that he said the chief mourner woke up, wore his usual morning clothes, and went to Canada to practice his market of demarketing Nigeria. And while he was at it, he said that the mayor of the town got hold of the mic and started singing the praises of Nigeria and Lagos in particular.
And so someone is in Nigeria, someone is in Canada rather, and the mayor is saying that, oh, because of this person, I want to come back to Nigeria. And so you see, politics will allow people to twist whatever they want in whichever way they want it. At least the president of Obi made the mayor to sing the praises of Nigeria. Where have we seen the president of Nigeria that all the places that he has been going to, that people are singing the praises of Nigeria? So Obi was demarketing Nigeria, but the people that are there are singing the praises of Nigeria and they want to come to Nigeria. Then he should demarket Nigeria more, if that's what demarketing will do to us. If he's going to demarket us in that way, and the people he's demarketing us to wants to come to the country, are interested in coming to Nigeria, and then we should do more of that kind of demarketing. I mean, if you understand what it means for you to go out there, talk to people about your country, and they are interested in coming to the nation, they are interested in, coming, singing the praises of your nation, shouldn't you commend the person that has, created the platform for that to happen? Should you come around and start saying that he is bitter? He is bitter, yet he's bringing the people to the country. I mean...
Is it the same, do you think it's the same feeling threatened, that, caused the statements also by Dave Umahi, the Minister for Works, who, of course, said pretty much the same thing, that Peter Obi is, getting
so
a certain section of the country agitated.
Anybody who is working with APC is already threatened by Peter Obi. Once you're in the APC caucus, because they know very well, I would say it, I would always say it, the Labour Party is the only opposition party. Peter Obi is the only person that does not belong to the caucus, that caucus of a group of people who are ready to ruin Nigeria by their pilfering, by stealing, by embezzling. It is only Peter Obi that does not belong to that. He said it recently in the same, interview that he spoke. He said when he was governor, and they were the only reason the elites of Anambra didn't like him was because they expect him to be giving them the state money. And when the president then, President Olusegun Obasanjo, told him that your people are not happy with you, he said, oh, it is because they want me to be giving them Anambra State money, and I cannot give it to them for nothing. And so if this man has stood his ground all the way from being the governor of Anambra, and today he's still standing and saying that it must be about Nigeria, it must be about the people, and then you, the Minister for Works, who we know very well that he has been bitter since he was not picked as the vice presidential candidate, when they were all in PDP, to run with Atiku. That was where the whole beef started from, and then he took it now. He had a chance to. How can you say a man that is telling everybody that, look, these projects you want to embark on is an elephant project that will take you years and too much of money to do, when you have other roads, so many other roads in this country that we could have fixed and get to work and be more, derive more from them. And then we want to go and start this one in the state of Nigeria today. And so you think that is right for you to say that it is inciting of a particular ethnic group? So for someone like me, a pure Yoruba boy, born, raised in Lagos, now, and I agree with Peter Obi, is also inciting me. For the Northerners who are also agree with him, is inciting them ethnically. For different parts of people who agree with him, even people that are in government that agree with him. And so it doesn't make any sense. It is still that same threat that they all feel towards Peter Obi, and know that, this is the only person they are scared of politically. So it's fine for all this conversation.
But let's just talk a little bit more about, how far we've come. It's going to be 1 year in a bit, 29th.
Yes.
There, of course, is a Lagos Calabar coastal, project. There's other things that the government has also invested its time into. Is there aspects that you would give them credit for and say, yes, I may be, speaking for the Labour Party, but, I think they've done well in this regard?
Maybe immigration, because there's no point to, maybe the immigration, because there's been some sort of reform in that particular agreement. There are some good, there are some goods, there are some bads, of that. But maybe the immigration, maybe the way, the minister rearranged the, But then outside that, what do we want to give credit? We judge society by development and progress, right? So let's look at it. Security, where are we? People are still being killed in their houses, in their farms, every day, every other day. Security is still -0. In fact, it got worse. At a point up to now, maybe we just try to play it down. There's kidnappings around the whole country. Some people find it hard. I know a lot of people that are turned down traveling, interstate from just within the southwestern states to attend events like they usually do. They turn it down, all because of insecurity. This was not happening before. This was not happening. So what are we judging it with or by? The APC have a banner that they made in 2015 and followed it up in 2019. In 2015 specifically, where it was written $2 to 217 naira is bad. And today, the same APC are saying that, no, the rate of dollar does not really matter. It is the stability. Stability of what? It's not even stable.
Yeah, but the argument is that we were always heading down this path, and as they always say, the mismanagement of the previous administration is what has led us down this path, and so, we should, some maybe even give kudos to the Buhari administration, the current administration, for managing the situation so Nigeria didn't go into complete chaos.
So, two things have happened. Removal of fuel subsidy and the floating of naira. At least, if I don't know about money, at least there is somebody, Mr. Aliko Dangote, the richest man in Africa, the richest black man living on earth, has said that the greatest mess, right, done by the APC government in 2023 was floating the naira. You see, no country in the world that don't defend their currency one way or the other. You either back it up with some, with either gold, or you have, a reserve that that you have. There is something that is always backing up your money. Now, that's on one side. Nigeria, we don't have any backup. One side. The other side is that the kind of corruption that we are facing, we have not dealt with it. I say it, see, I'm on TV and I'm saying it now. I am not a fan of subsidy removal. I will never be a fan of subsidy removal in Nigeria, fuel subsidy removal, for the fact that one of the major reasons why we keep talking about subsidy removal is that there is a group of people, maybe these people are just not up to 100 or thereabout, who are doing this racketeering, who are doing this round tripping, who are taking this money and are not using it for the purpose that it is meant to be. Oh, we all agree that there is some sort of a mismanagement, some sort of stealing in the oil sector and in the oil subsidy in particular. And instead of you to look for these people, take this money from them, get them arrested, not one person has been arrested for oil subsidy theft in this country, because they are friends to all these same politicians. Not one person has been arrested. Not one person has been, has been made to account for this money. But instead of getting these people and curbing that corruption in the oil sector, you went ahead to say, no, we cannot deal with 100 people. Let millions, 200 million of people suffer for it. And then you remove subsidy, and then we are still in this mess of fuel scarcity. There is nothing they are doing that. Oh, you read the news every day now. Maybe you tell me what they are doing right, because I'm not seeing it.
All right. So we're counting down to the next elections. How would you say that? Are there any things that we're doing differently now that would ensure that we have a different result, at the next elections? Because we did see that 2023 was a keenly contested election, keenly disputed election. So are there things that are being done differently now to ensure that we would have a different outcome by the next elections?
So when you say we, it depends. I mean, if I have to talk...
So I'm talking about the Nigerians in general, from what you've observed, and then the Labour Party, being as you're a spokesperson for the Labour Party.
Yeah, so for Nigerians, I think a lot of us are beginning to learn two things that played in the last election. There was a lot of ethnic inciting, and that's where Dave Remain should be talking about, you know, incitement, you know, because especially in Lagos, there was heavy clampdown on the Igbo ethnic group, you know, especially towards the governorship election, right? Somebody came on to say openly that, you know, Igbos are not going to vote in anywhere he has, you know, his powers. And then we saw the spokesperson to the police saying that, oh, he was just joking. And eventually they were, on the day of the election, this thing was carried out and this person is still working freely, you know. So that's on one side. But have Nigerians learned from this? I think so. I engage people on, you know, daily and on different levels and on different occasions. I realize that a lot of people who voted for the APC government, they are already regretting it openly. Like, somebody said to me, Yoruba on Saturday, you know, at the Lagos Island. He said, well, we didn't know it's going to turn out this way.
That's subject to argument. Some people would argue that, you know, this is a part of the problem, you know, a part of the journey, birthing pangs. The first Alako, we've run out of time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. This is your first official interview with us as spokesperson for the Labour Party in Lagos. Thank you for your time with us, and once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the demolitions that are going on here in Lagos, particularly in Mende Estate Villa in Maryland. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Now, what seemed like a dream ended up becoming reality as residents of Mende Estate Villa in the Maryland area of Lagos State have decried the recent demolition of their multi-millionaire houses in the area by the Lagos State government while seeking compensation for a new shelter. The State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, disclosed that the demolition was needed to reclaim parts of a drainage channel, adding that government had issued the residents of Mende Villa Estate 2 demolition notices in 2021 and 2023. Now, joining us to discuss this is Isabella Adediji, I beg your pardon. She happens to be a resident at the Mende Villa Estate. Thank you very much. Good morning to you. And I would start with saying we're so sorry, you know, that of course, you know, you've had to deal with these very, very trying times. But I mean, maybe all of you.
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is just how are you?
I'm much better. I think I was losing my mind when I don't know how to describe Saturday. 1 minute, I'm coming out for a meeting, I'm seeing the commissioner, and Honorable Commissioner actually started the conversation because he had come the Sunday before and he had said, oh, you know, we need to do this drainage channel and whatnot. What are your documents? And there was a bit of back and forth. Okay, we have the documents. Okay, you know what? He just said, look, I know that there are people here. I know there are families here. That's why I came to the estate. So I saw the empathy. And from that Sunday, he had said the next day, Monday, that they're going to send their own surveyor, and we should also send our own surveyor so they can take coordinates to make sure that we didn't encroach on the setback. And the next day, that was Monday, that's a week ago, our surveyor from the government came. And then we didn't hear anything. So life was going on as normal. In fact, we had waited to see the Honorable Commissioner on Sunday before making the decision for my husband and daughter to travel out of the country because my daughter needed to go and seek medical care. So we're like, no, everything is fine. The Commissioner has given us his word. And he did say that, you know what, most of this estate needs to go, but I'm going to go back to Mr. Governor and I'll see what we can do. So there was a bit of hope, like, oh, this person understands. So when he came back on Saturday, that's just over the weekend, we're kind of hopeful, but there was just something a bit different this time, the security personnel. And he started by saying, look, you had your survey done, we had our survey done, and now he was opening the Lagos master plan and saying, you know what, I spoke to Mr. Governor, and he said, instead of taking this much, we'll just take this row of houses. That row, I'm sure you've seen it in the footage, my unit was where we're renting, was one of those houses. So I thought, okay, at least he's showing that he listened. But why are we taking one row when we have our drainage clearance, all the permits and everything? And our lawyer started to, go back and forth and saying, well, we have this. And he said, look, if you feel like you're on your right, go to court. We're like, okay. And then our chairman of the estate, in a more controlled voice started to say, okay, sir, maybe this, maybe that. And all of a sudden, from nowhere, the agitation, we just looked and we just saw like this excavator by the wall. We started shouting, please, please, please. And then, the camera crew, everything, they all followed us there. But it was too late. They started to go at the wall. The wall started coming down. And I don't know when I lost my mind. I was literally crying and begging. And I was just saying, please give us time. Give us time because of our children. We're in an estate. Once you bring down the wall, the canal is open. That means monkeys. I see monkeys at my backyard, or what used to be my backyard. Sometimes we hear about snakes. What about security? People can come from across Ogudu. So I was just like really scared at that point. I was still probably in like house clothes and everything. And I was just begging this man, like, please, please. And I did feel like he said, look, it's okay. It's okay. Maybe because of the cameras. And then he went. And I thought, let's just start packing. Everybody just started packing. But at that point, I couldn't think clearly because this all came, like I was even meant to go for an event. And before we could say Jack Robinson, literally, they started going at the first house. Like neighbors were just bringing out things. Like it was just panic, and we now started calling people, please, truck, van, everybody was just trying to scavenge. Then the scavengers were also trying to come and take things as well. And you're just trying to save what is left of your possessions, of your dignity. My auntie called, said, is there any way you can help? She came to take my 2-year-old son. But I was just distraught. I was crying. I had lost, I don't want to ever go back there. I did grant some interviews to some of the news stations that were there. And, I just said, government is for the people, of the people, by the people. What would it have taken the Lagos state government to say, okay, look, we've taken down the wall, you can see we're serious, but we'll give you 48 hours, or we'll give you 2 weeks. At least pack your things and find a new place. Things are so hard. The cost of food, like basic amenities, electricity, transportation. I know how much I was spending last year and how much I'm spending this year. Now, there's that added cost. If you go to the market, you don't want to know how much, houses are. So, yes, we can go to court and seek redress and whatnot, but where is the humanity that at that point, I was a mother begging because I was thinking about the security of my children, my family. I was thinking about the other families. I was thinking about the elderly, the sick amongst us. What will happen to them? The people who don't have people to go to, or people who will come to their aid to help them start packing. At the point my neighbors came, they were packing things for me, trying to calm me down, but it was just such a nightmare. And, I just thought, wow, we can go from having a civil conversation, like showing us the map and telling us you've heard, to a simple, like, take this place down. And then, someone just says, take this place down, and, it's, you don't think it's just going to happen like that. No, it's not just going to happen in the course of the conversation. But
so what has happened since then, and how have you, been able to?
This was Saturday. So I went to my auntie's house on Saturday where my son was, and I have like my stuff in different people's houses, my friends,
that's probably the worst.
My colleagues, my husband's colleagues, my stuff is everywhere. And I said to myself, I'm going to maintain some semblance of reality before I lose my mind. So what can I do? What brings me joy? I know my family does. My husband is still away, and I know how distraught he was, because there was always that thing that, what if? You never know, like these demolitions. So yesterday, I was able to, sometimes I host on TV, Channels TV, and I still went to host the show. I was on radio speaking about it. I took my son to school today. His uniform was stuck inside the washing machine, so he went in his mufti. We couldn't find the school bag. And when we got to the school, they're like, where's the school bag? I was like, look, let me just go to school. And as I dropped him at school, because our house is very close, I went there and I actually saw the destruction. Because, they had started on one side, then they stopped, and then they started on the other side. And then now I've seen that what was left of my house, like, it's really sad. A lot of people have put in money. I mean, when did we pay our rent? In February, and my landlord's house was the first one to go down. Like, I can't imagine the impact it's going to have. And I now understand when people say they are leaving this country. I believe in Nigeria. I believe this is the only country I have. But I can see now when people say, look, for my child, I don't want my child to go through that. I don't want to wake up one. I went to bed on Friday, woke up in my bed on Saturday, and I became homeless by Saturday afternoon, evening.
How long had you lived there?
We moved to that place in 2020.
Oh, wow. So it's barely 4 years.
The pandemic, just
There's
during
so
the
many
pandemic.
memories, and like, it was a community, and I feel like temper justice with mercy. If you feel like really and truly, the same way you had been engaging us and you're showing us that you're a government that listens, then what would you have taken and if you had just given more time?
Yeah.
For some people, they didn't get their possessions out. Luckily for me, I had family and friends who came to my aid, and they've been helping. But I'm still distraught. I like, even the clothes I was wearing, my friend had to bring clothes for me because my stuff is everywhere.
Yeah.
How can people help at this time? What kind of help do you think that you and other residents in Mende Estate Villa need at this time?
I think it's, one thing is, what has happened has happened. We don't want this to happen. Like, I know how my husband's deputy in his office felt when she called us on a Sunday and said, it was a Saturday night, and said, they're coming to demolish. And really and truly on Sunday, they demolished her place. Little did we know that we're going to be a victim of that. And if you speak to some people, even in the estate, they left where they were because it was demolished. So can we just stop this? Like, even if you're going to demolish and you say you're giving someone notice in 2021 and 2023, this is 2024. What is wrong in saying, okay, 2024, let us give you 2 weeks. Let us give you, like, you can't look at the realities in this country. Things are so hard for people. Like, people are not only just out of homes, but think about the impact it has. My auntie's place is on the island, so now going to school, which used to be a 5-minute drive, is now much more longer. And there's the increased cost of transportation. There's also, looking for a new place, agency, tenancy agreement. So places are still saying 2 years.
Yeah.
Even though it's
chaotic.
Not allowed. It's supposedly not allowed in Lagos.
Can this not continue to happen? They are not building whatever bridge they are building. It hasn't yet reached our side yet. What about some kind of patience, what sort of understanding that, okay, let's meet you halfway?
And I hear you completely, because the defense that the government gives is that they have been given notices since 2021.
Yeah.
That they've done a repeat notice in 2023 and all that. But like you said, if you pulled down the wall and said, look, we're not joking, we're giving you 48 hours to evacuate, everybody knows then. Because some people can say they're not quite aware because they're not property owners, they're renting apartments. But if you say you truly have the heart of the people, the interest of the people at heart,
Exactly. I think, if really and truly there was a demolition notice, then, it would have been easier to even have gone to the court.
So there wasn't a demolition notice?
No, there was no demolition notice. 2021 and 2023, did you say you're coming on, what day was it, in May to come and demolish? No, you never said that. You came and you said, look, I've heard you. Instead of taking this much of the estate, I only take this amount of the estate. So there was some kind of dialogue. And I feel like everything was managed perfectly in the media because they're coming to cover it. And, look, we want you to build the road. We don't want flooding in Lagos. But where's the empathy? Where's the I stand with the people in this trying time? Now, like, where is that? What will you have taken, even if it was 48 hours?
Isabella Adediji, once again, we empathize with you and all the residents who have had to face this unfortunate reality, and we hope that there is some form of help. I mean, I don't know how this can be made any better at this point, but just to ensure that situations like this do not repeat themselves again. And thank you for being a voice, and even through the pain, using your voice.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to be talking about other very important conversations as well this morning on Which Way Nigeria in a moment.
This morning's Which Way Nigeria is not speaking to the federal government as usual. Today I decided to take a quick detour and address a particular problem that has, for the longest time, just stayed under the radar. It's barely spoken about. It barely gets mentioned except in times of chaos within themselves or misalignment of ideas or when political interests are being threatened within their, circles. You remember, of course, River State in the last couple of months. Today, we're speaking about arguably the weakest link in the whole spectrum of government, and that is the state houses of assembly. It is fair to start, by saying that the main role of the State House of Assembly in Nigeria isn't just to represent the interests of the people. There is that. But the State House of Assembly is also responsible for making laws for the state, for overseeing the state government's activities and representing the interests of their constituents, and also to checkmate the executive, to ensure that the governor doesn't violate his office in many ways. They can also utilize their oversight powers through committees, through budget scrutiny, and holding the executive accountable through legislative inquiries and resolutions, many, many ways. But additionally, they, of course, can pass laws that limit executive powers and ensure transparency and accountability in governance. And basically, in the layman terms, just ensure that the executive do not go overboard, that the executive always know that there are people watching that represent, of course, the electorate. But what we see in Nigeria is state houses of assembly that are a complete shadow of themselves and what they should represent. Just this weekend, of course, there have been two damning reports that have made the news. One of them, was from the EFCC, stating that 58 ex-governors were on their watch that allegedly mismanaged more than 2 trillion naira. A day after the EFCC, of course, dismissed that report, saying that it wasn't from them. But while we go back and forth, about where that report came from, Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is also, of course, in the news, suing the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike and other governors for loans of almost 6 trillion naira, taken, with mostly nothing to show for it in their respective states. Now, the reason that these reports are important is because it's a good example to show how the tools of governance and the democratic system, which would prevent such a level of waste and corruption, just simply always fails. Now, from the level of auditing to the state houses of assembly, whose sole responsibility, like I stated, is to carry out budget scrutiny and to limit the excessive and wasteful borrowing and spending of the state government. What we instead see in Nigeria is state houses of assembly that simply just exist to assist the bidding of whoever is in government house. When is the last time you heard any news story in any state house of assembly in any part of Nigeria that challenged the governor concerning excessive borrowing? When's the last time you heard a state house of assembly actually doing or saying anything with the motive of curtailing the excesses of the executive? The only thing we hear about the state house of assembly in Nigeria is when they have internal friction, when personal interest or political interests are being threatened. It could also stem from the fact that most of these state houses of assemblies across the nation barely have opposition party members among them, and so they act with loyalty to their party, which of course is the same party with the governor, instead of loyalty to the state and the constitution. So we could spend days, weeks, months, years critical of Mr. President and his ministers, but we should, I believe, as Nigerians, also take very seriously the failures of those who represent us on the state level and the seeming connivance of the state houses of assembly in the poor quality of governance that citizens receive. Nigerians should take a closer look, within the state houses of assembly. Of course, the people who are there, who are true definitions of the term rubber stamp, who only, solely exist to do the bidding of their respective governors without questions. These are some of the most important aspects, that Nigerians must start to question, and this is what we have on Which Way Nigeria today. Good morning, Nigerians.